Welcome back to Paneer and Pancakes. I'm Vaaruni Joshi, and grab a snack, get comfy, and let's dive right in. So, welcome back. So sorry for the long break, but as soon as the semester started, of course, things got incredibly busy. I underestimated every single year, but we get back in January and I don't have a free moment until literally March. So, that's where we are right now. But we're back today and we're talking about lunch. Lunch in elementary school, how to describe? It was all perfect until you actually got to the lunchroom. Like, you'd get out of your chair or whatever, and then you'd get your lunch, and you'd get in line, and you'd walk to the lunchroom, and then that's where things just went absolutely insane. Because there's so much chaos. If you're buying lunch, you have to go run and grab it. If you're bringing your own lunch, you have to go and sit and find a seat and wait for your friends who are buying lunch. And, like, there's always, like, 10,000 trays and milk cartons exploding everywhere. And there's somebody yelling in the background for no reason. And I don't know if anybody else remembers this, but when I was, like, in second grade or something, they had, like, little milk cartons that used to have the jokes on them, like, about the cows. So I don't know if this is, like, a really niche, like, fever dream that I'm having, but, like, I swear to God, they were there. So that's what I remember. And also, like, there was always, like, these monitors walking around being like, be quiet, be quiet. And I was like, we're literally at lunch. Like, let us talk. Did anybody else at school, like, play music, like, to, like, signify when you're supposed to be quiet? Because my first elementary school before I moved, like, we had to, like, be quiet when the music was playing, and I always thought that was, like, really weird. It's like classical conditioning or something. But as soon as the music would start playing, we would all quiet down. So I remember there were always, like, parent volunteers walking around, and I could never, like, get my lunch open sometimes, so, like, I'd have to always ask them to open it, and it was, like, really embarrassing for no reason. But yeah, that was basically what lunch was like. It was just chaos and laughing and lots of, like, random stories we tell each other, but there was always, like, a second layer to it that's kind of what I want to talk about. How to explain? Basically, when somebody asked you what you had for lunch, there were three options. You could say the real name, or you could translate it and be like, oh, it's kind of like a tortilla or something like that, or you could default and just say it's bread, which is, I have to say, that's what I did. Like, every single time somebody asked me, I would not have the energy to explain that this is not, like, bread, it's, like, flat bread, but also, like, that just sounds like it's a tortilla. So I don't know why, I always just said this is bread, and I was like, this is bread and these are some vegetables. But that was, like, my default. It's like being a PR manager, but you were, like, 7. So it was never, like, a huge part of my day or anything. It was just, like, that half a split second of, like, oh, like, okay, and then things would go back right back to normal. But that's, like, I think my very, very first introduction to, like, being in such, like, a dual culture world that I live in. And I was always very lucky, and I had a lot of brown friends, like, throughout all my years of school. There was, like, maybe one year when I just didn't have any in my class, and that was fine. Like, I was completely okay with it. It was just I made a few more explanations throughout the course of the year. Like, now in high school and even in middle school, I have always eaten lunch with, like, my other brown friends. So it's, like, not really a big deal when you open your lunchbox, because everyone knows and everyone just goes along with it. So that there's a little bit of solidarity. But in elementary school, it was just a little bit more, I don't know, like, new, I guess. It was, like, a little bit more confusing. I wouldn't say confusing. Like, just curiosity was more, like, prevalent, I guess. So yeah, I explained things a lot. And this is kind of, like, I don't remember when, but I did an episode about, like, my name and, like, having to, like, go through that whole, like, scenario, like, every other single day of the school year. But it was kind of like that, where it's not, like, it wasn't a huge part of my day, but it was, like, the very beginnings of, like, recognizing those, like, small parts that all come together to, like, really shape what my life has, like, turned out to be, being, like, an Indian American teen. Obviously, like, it was a little bit more, like, noticeable, like, that shift, I guess, in cultures, like, on bigger days like Diwali or, like, any other kind of, like, holiday or something like that. Or we had cultural day a lot, and I remember, like, I would always go and, like, perform or something because I was just extra like that. But this is, like, just part of the day-to-day life, where it'd be like, yeah, like, what do you have for lunch? Like, that was just, like, something that I accepted really quickly, I think. And I think that's something that a lot of people just had to accept. Like, I have a friend who has literally never pronounced her own name correctly to a teacher, like, not like she's always shortened it just because she's like, it's just easier. Like I've just learned that it's easier, which is true. I sometimes don't even like realize it, but there's a lot of my friends who've made like little tiny sacrifices here and there because just for the ease of day-to-day life. And this is just another thing that I think, like, this is just one example, but obviously I just went, it's just bread because it's just easier than to having to explain it. So yeah, I think that the lunchroom was already so ruthless. It was insane because there was always like snack trading going on, which technically we weren't even supposed to do, but you know, like fruit snacks and Capri Sun and I don't even know, like just the ice creams that we used to buy like on Thursdays or whatever ice cream day was. Like if you bought an ice cream, if you didn't buy an ice cream, it was already such a stressful environment, I feel like, because it was kind of like social chess but like for 8-year-olds. So like that was like something that was just like that 30 seconds of like explaining yourself was already like felt like such a big deal in that moment. But of course, as soon as it was over, like it just didn't matter anymore. So yeah, I think it was just like something interesting that I was thinking about, because how are you already realizing at like 7 that this is just something I'm going to accept and just like go on with, not having to explain it because it's easier. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about and touch on, because it was never about like fitting in. It was never about like being normal. It was just about being slightly different for like 30 seconds. But that's like where it starts, I guess, is what I wanted to say. Yeah, and the whole title comes from the fact that I always had a little note in my lunchbox on a napkin. Just like, have a great day or something. It was always dated. And I just remember that as like a big part of my elementary school. So like years, that's why I named it that, I guess. But I guess also because like the whole like idea of the lunch means a lot more than just like, this is my lunch and like I have to explain myself. It was kind of like a reminder. It was always like, you know, it meant that you weren't like alone. Somebody was like there, I guess, in the spirit of the napkin. I'm being very dramatic right now, but that's just what I do. I also am like not used, it's been such a long time since I've like been on the like whole like mindset of like recording, that right now I'm feeling like very like weird. Like I don't know how to explain it. So yeah, if I'm like rambling, that's why, because I'm not like in the flow or anything. So yeah, this episode basically was just to talk about the kids who said it's bread for like 8 years of their life before they finally like actually started like realizing that they were saying it's bread all the time. So yeah, I think that the whole point is that your identity like of being dual culture doesn't come from like dramatic big moments like sometimes they show on like television. It's like the small things that add up every day, and that just continue on with the rest of your life. So yeah, thanks for listening to today's episode of Paneer and Pancakes. Don't forget to subscribe and review us on Spotify and YouTube, and follow us on Instagram for updates and more content. Thanks for tuning in today, and I will see you in the next episode on time, I promise. Okay, bye.